Hey guys, welcome to the channel and welcome back to another quick video. On this video, guys, I want to talk about the real reason Deion Sanders left Jackson State University and went to the University of Colorado. Now, Deion is gone, but I want to have this conversation because I think it's important to have this conversation because this conversation hits on a lot of different issues, whether it's race, whether it's money, whether it's colleges, the college sports, a lot of different things. So I want to have this conversation because on this channel, we talk money. And this, I don't care what Dion said, this is about money. There's some money issues that definitely are a factor here. So I want to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, from JSU standpoint, from the player standpoint, from University of Colorado standpoint, from Dion's standpoint. And I just want to give you my take, some analysis on what we're looking at in terms of this decision by Dion. I'm a sports fan, but I'm also a money fan. And this is about money. Like I said, regardless of what you heard, I just want to offer my opinion on it, guys. First of all, I have no huge problem with Deion Sanders. Everything that I know about Deion, read about Deion, saw about Deion over the years, he's a pretty stand-up guy, nice guy, Christian guy, and a likable person and a kind of a magnetic personality. But I do have a few things about this situation, honestly, that I wish was different. And I want to talk about them in this video as well. So, first of all, good move for Dion. Yeah, probably good move for Dion. His visibility, and obviously his pockets. Now, let me jump into that because Dion was making 300,000 a year at Jackson State, and now at University of Colorado Boulder, Dion is making 5 million plus incentives at the University of Colorado. I don't care how you lay it out, guys. That's a 15. I think it's a 1,500% increase or something like that if I do my math right. And how many of us that's making, $50,000 a year wouldn't want to take a $750,000 a year job? I don't know if that's the exact numbers, but you get what I'm saying, right? Or even a 300,000 job if we're making $50,000. So Dion going from 300,000 to 5 million is huge, right? Big time. So he can say what he want. I don't care what Dion says. I watched the press conference or the talk he had. It was really a speech towards his current players or his previous players at Jackson State, and he said it's not about the money. I got plenty of money. Well, Dion, it is about the money. Come on, let's be real about it. We ain't stupid now. As an adult, we understand that it's about money. I know that you had to say that to the kids at Jackson State, but we understand that money plays an issue, and he can't convince me that money didn't play a role. And if it didn't play a role at all, and he has 30, 40, $50 million laying around somewhere or whatever, and I'm not in his pockets, but if it didn't play a role, then basically Dion was saying that the primary reason that he left Jackson State was because he wanted to be elevated, which kind of insinuates that Colorado is an elevation above Jackson State, which Jackson State players and folks that are close to Jackson State might find a little bit offensive. So I'm pretty sure money played a role. But the other thing I want to point out, guys, about Dion is that this is a good move for his assistant coaches and his staff that he plans to bring along with him. And the reason I say that is because I really, really believe that Dion is the type of person that he would take the heat just to see the people around him be elevated. And when I say people around him, I'm talking about his close people, his family, his people that been with him for 5, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, and that roll with Dion. I think he would more than likely want to help those guys out, and I think that was a huge reason for him taking this job. Um, the ability to bring his assistant coaches along and give them really what's life changing money for them. I mean, the assistants, they're going to be paid a whole bunch more, just like he is, based on this new move that this move that he made. So Dion is going to want to help those assistants out. That's the type of, I think, makeup Dion has, and I think it's a huge reason why he took the job because now he's able to expose his assistants and perhaps, if it's 3, 4 years down the road, perhaps get his assistants into Division 1 or higher level Division 1 as coaches as well. So it's life changing money for everybody that's involved. And knowing Dion, now I'm talking about some of the good things about this move for Deion specifically. And most people, or a lot of people, are saying that this move was all about Deion, right? But I know Deion prayed about it, consulted with TD Jakes and Creflo Dollar and pastors, friends, people, family he knows. You know, Deion is a smart dude, so this is not some off the cuff decision. Um, but the other thing is it's good for his kids too. You know, he has a couple or some kids that play. I think he has a daughter that plays on Jackson State's basketball team, but it's a good move for them as well. It adds a little bit of exposure for them, you know. So it could be a good move for and a bigger opportunity in terms of his kids, in terms of exposure, and to compete on a higher level. I know, you know, his kids weighed in on his decision as well. The other thing to think about Dion is he's a competitor at the highest level, right? So we got to remember something. Dion is a Pro Football Hall of Fame player, which means he is used to competing at the very highest levels against the very best that he feels is the best, right? Or the best competition. And so this is arguably the greatest cornerback in the history of the NFL. And he has an ego and he has confidence. And you guys remember, if you were around prime time, Neon Dion dancing, you know, before he got to the end zone and high stepping and flash and showing off. And so, you know, Dion, in his mind, he wants to compete against the best. And this gives him an opportunity and his kids an opportunity to compete with what he thinks and he considers to be the best. Remember, Dion has long been involved in sports at the highest level, from high school to college, at FSU, at Florida State, to the pros in baseball and football. So Dion has been entrenched in a culture that says the best of the best is big time universities, large D1 universities. That's the best of the best. He's been around that for 40 years of his life, thinking that and involved with that culture. So when Dion gets involved with coaching on the college level, in his mind, Jackson State University is not the best of the best. Now, whether or not you believe Jackson State is the best of the best is your own personal opinion. But in Dion's own mind, the players on the field that he's playing against and his kids are playing against is not the best in the world at their age, at their collegiate age, right? So Dion wants to compete against the best. And so, you know, Dion's mind frame is I got to go if I want to be the best, I got to go beat the best. Right? That's what he was thinking when he was in high school and college and in the pros, right? If I want to be the best, I got to beat the best. And so Dion is saying, "Hey, I got in his mind, I got to leave Jackson State to elevate, to go up." And his mind, and I keep saying his mind because everybody doesn't think like that, right? Everybody doesn't think that Colorado's got the best or the University of USC has the best. And so some people don't think like that. Now, if it's the best, you know, it may be the best, it may not be. I'm going to leave that up to you to decide and for your own personal opinion. But this is what I'm telling you what Dion is thinking. The other thing is he got some top recruits, right? It's harder for Dion to get top recruits at Jackson State than it is to get those top recruits to come to Colorado, a Power Five school. You know, so he's looking at saying, when I go out to recruit and I'm telling them I can bring you to Jackson State, I can give you this, I can give you that, I can give you. Those players are saying, wait a minute, but you're at Jackson State, so I can't get the exposure for the NFL like I want. So Dion is thinking, I got, you know, getting to a Power Five school allows me to get the best, it gives me an easier route to get the best players in my football program. We got to remember this, guys. For Deion Sanders, this is about football. It's not necessarily about, you know, the black culture or the African American experience at the HBCU. Deion is about football. And Deion is not necessarily about, now I'm not saying he's not about it, but I can say that his main thing is winning football games. He's a football coach. So we got to keep that in mind. But and I'll talk about that in a brief as well. But Also for the kids that want to enter the transfer portal and go with him over to Colorado. The transfer portal is just how kids transfer from school to school. And athletes, I think now they get a one-time penalty-free transfer from one school to another school. And when I say penalty-free, I mean they don't have to sit out for a year if they transfer. So he's got some guys from Jackson State that he wants to carry with him when they enter their name into the portal. Um, and he's got some players at Colorado that he wants to probably enter the portal to get out of there. So there's the rule requires that if a player transfers twice, then they got to sit out a year. But if they only transfer once, they can enter that portal and they can play right away. But so that's there's players. He's got players that he's thinking about putting them on what he considers to be the spotlight at a big Power Five school like Colorado. The other thing to think about from Deion's standpoint is Colorado is horrible. They've had what 2 or 3 winning seasons in the last 15 years or so or more, and they were 1-11 this year. And so they have, and before that, back in the 90s, as you probably remember, some of you, Colorado was a pretty good collegiate program in terms of football. And so Deion is saying, how can I get you back there? And this is a challenge for Deion. Remember, coming to Jackson State was a challenge for Deion. Um, and he had to leave. And as he leaves Jackson State, he's looking to go get a challenge. He's a competitor at the highest level. So when he sees a program like Colorado, he sees an opportunity to turn it around, and that's huge for him. And I don't think it's going to be his last stop, by the way. I think Colorado is just a stopping point on the way to something even bigger for Deion. In his mind, I think that's what he's thinking, because as a lot of people have talked about, Colorado may not be the right spot. Nobody ever saw Deion going to Colorado, but apparently they made a great pitch and he went forward. So, I can't, I can't speak to that because I don't know everything they did and said and offered. But apparently, according to the press conference and so forth, Deion kind of fell in love with Boulder and the AD or the president who brought him in. Um, so something to think about. Something else to think about is Deion becomes the first black head coach to go from an HBCU to a Power Five conference in terms of football. Again, I'm talking all football right now. I'm gonna get to the emotional stuff, right? But right now, I'm telling you where Deion's head is, and I think his head is all on the football and the opportunities that are there. So there's been several black head coaches that have been fired recently from their foot FBS programs, for the NCAA's FBS programs, Division One top programs, and they weren't replaced. And so Deion is going into a space where there's not a lot of black head coaches. Okay, maybe 8 or 9% of, or maybe less than that, is head coaches, black head coaches. So Deion's got some work in front of him. Now here's the issue. Here's the bigger issues. The optics look horrible from a black HBCU standpoint. The optics, they look bad. It just looks bad. I know we're talking and we talk about from the HBCU standpoint. Sometimes, there's a lot of people that get emotional about this situation and say, listen, it ain't good. It looks bad. You know, um, why did Deion give the insinuation that when he was addressing his Jackson State team to leave and say, hey, you got to step up. You either get terminated or you get elevated, I think is what he said. You get terminated or elevated. And it was an insinuation that Colorado is an elevation. And so are the players, are they hurt? Of course they're hurt. They're upset. But let me tell you guys something. This happens every day. This happens all the time on every single level of college sports, whether it's tennis, whether it's basketball, whether it's baseball, football, you name it. Players get recruited, coaches leave. Players get recruited, coaches leave in the middle of that player's time at the college. It happens all the time. So, but here's the kicker. The other kicker here is the whole dynamic about HBCUs. And oftentimes in black culture, there's this persistence and insistence by even black people that black schools are less than, or black schools that are HBCUs are schools that, because they don't have the money, the facilities, and all those types of things, they're somehow below, or they're less than the larger schools, or the predominantly white institutions that may be, larger NCAA one schools like a Colorado. And so there's this perception, and it's not a good perception, because for HBCUs and people that attend, and black culture and black Americans, it's an insinuation that there's an inferiority about the black schools and the HBCU schools. There's something worse about them. Just because, and a lot of it has to stem with the money that they can offer, or the money they have in terms of facilities and so forth. So that is a big issue, and it's one of the reasons why the optics don't look good when Deion is bringing so much notoriety, which he brought a lot to Jackson State, and a lot to HBCUs, and a lot to the SWAC conference. And now he picks that up and goes to a school that is a predominantly white college institution that has more money. And it looks like they dangled the carrot of money in front of him, and Deion left. And that's why you have people saying Deion's a sellout. Deion was never SWAC, right? That was the way they put it. A few games back, Deion had a spout with Coach Eddie Robinson, from another HBCU SWAC school, and the other coach said he's not really SWAC, and so Deion came back and said, "Yeah, I'm SWAC." But anyway, the point is that is the situation, right? Some say that he left these recruits high and dry, but I'm telling you now, it's what coaches do all the time. You know, I don't, like I said, I don't believe it was never in my mind that Deion was going to stay at Jackson State forever. And it was never, and it's not in my mind now that he's going to be at Colorado very long either. But Deion, because Deion probably could have got a better job, instead of a cold weather city that is horrible, et cetera. How many recruits can he get to Colorado and come play in Boulder? All that remains to be seen. But the optics of him leaving an HBCU, and the insinuation that it's inferior and he has to go somewhere else like a Colorado to be elevated, is sort of a slap in the face that some people feel, and it makes people emotionally upset, right? And I totally get it. I totally understand it. And I see it. And it's one of the reasons that, sometimes I feel like, it would have been nice to see Deion stay there and pump it up, and make top recruits come to HBCUs. Not that Deion is responsible for that, right? But he could have started something, and perhaps he did start something. Jackson State is better off where they are right now when he's leaving than they were when he came. He's brought a spotlight to Jackson State, you know, and he's put a spotlight on them like HBCUs haven't had a spotlight on them for many, many decades, especially in terms of football. Football is one of the big revenue producing sports, probably the biggest revenue producing sport on all the campuses, all of football, or all the colleges across America. So he's brought a spotlight to that. Them getting 40 and 50 and 60,000 people at their games, that wasn't happening before he got there. So he's brought something good. He's brought some other good things to Jackson State. And, two consecutive Southwestern Athletic Conference championships, um, 27-5 and 27 wins and 5 losses in 3 seasons, 12-0 this season. I mean, he turned Jackson State into a winner. Now, Jackson State should be well prepared moving forward. And I think, despite what a lot of people say, there are tons of very, very, very good, solid African American football coaches besides Deion Sanders, right? Deion brings the prime time, the neon Deion. But there's some really good coaches out there that want to get a chance. And I think Jackson State will be able to now go out and get even a more high profile coach than they probably could have got before. So Jackson State is better off, now than they were. HBCUs are better off. But some people still see this as proof, or the insinuation that black stuff at HBCUs are less than or second class or lower tier. I also want to say this: Jackson State, they did right by Deion by letting him even by even taking a chance on him in the beginning. There were big time schools that weren't giving him a chance, Deion, before he went to Jackson State, and so he used Jackson State as a proving ground, and Jackson State gave him an opportunity. And I think that they both, that they're leaving on good terms. Is what I'm saying. Jackson State, in terms of the school, right? Not necessarily the students, players, but the school. I think they appreciated Deion, what he brought to them, and the spotlight he brought, and the wins and the achievements that he brought. So I don't think there's no hard feelings, but the feelings come in with the players or with the alumni or even with the black community. Some people in the black community that feel like Deion left him high and dry. The thing that black people didn't understand is that this is football, right? For Deion. This is football for Deion. This is business for Deion. This is not about the black culture. It's not about uplifting all HBCUs throughout the whole country. This is about winning, competing, and winning football at the highest levels. And Deion is a football coach. And I think a lot of black people kind of got that mixed up and allow feelings to get involved as opposed to understanding that this is business and understanding who Deion is and where he comes from and his history. Um, but Deion is a product of the system. Again, he's a product of a system that teaches and conditions that the highest you go is not at HBCUs around black people. The highest you go in terms of football, in terms of elevation, is schools that are predominantly white institutions. That's his mindset. It's been his mindset since he was, and I don't know Deion. I haven't talked to Deion, right? But I understand where he's coming from. He's coming from the mind frame that he's been involved with, the culture that he's been involved with for all of his life, which is HBCUs are on one tier, and if you want to be elevated and compete against the highest people and have the greatest facilities, you move to another level beyond or above what he considers to be above HBCUs. That's what he's thinking. And sometimes we forget that that's been bred in him and in athletics and people that play athletics at the highest level, whether it's basketball or football or baseball. This is their thinking. Okay. So Jackson State players, who are not transferring, they're going to have to suck it up and understand that this is life and continue their collegiate career. If they don't enter the transfer portal, they're going to have to be at Jackson State with a new coach, and they're going to work just as hard and be motivated just as much. It happens everywhere we go. You go to a job, you really like a supervisor or a manager. That manager leaves for something else. Now you got a new manager. You got to deal with it, right? It's a part of life, and it happens. But it's not unusual. And I think the players will adjust at Jackson State accordingly. And then we come to Colorado, right? This was a no-brainer for Colorado. They go out, they talk to, they give them a chance. Deion is a proven winner, right? He's a proven winner at the high school level, at the college level, in terms as a player, and at in the NFL as a player. And now he's a proven winner as a coach. So it's a no-brainer for Colorado. I'm just shocked other, Division I colleges weren't knocking on his door, and maybe they were knocking on his door, but I'm surprised that they weren't knocking on his door right now. And Colorado was there, and they picked up the pieces. They dangled the carrot out in front that said 5 million plus incentives, and hey, we got a horrible, program, horrible team. Come help us out. We're a big Power Five school, and you know, the spotlight is now on Colorado. Can Deion be Deion when he goes to Colorado? Right? Can he bring what he brought to JSU? And as Deion said in one of his press conferences, you know, I'm about helping kids. I'm about helping all kids of all ethnicities and so forth, men and women. And so the key is going to be, if you don't win at Colorado, are you going to be received as well as you were received and would have been received at Jackson State? At Jackson State, Deion could have been the president of Jackson, Mississippi. He could have been, or the mayor. He could have been anything he wanted for the next 10, 15, 20 years at Jackson State. The key is, can he have that same power and influence at Colorado, at the University of Colorado? Will they allow Deion to be Deion? Will the boosters and all these folks allow Deion to be Deion? Will Deion be Deion? I think he will, but now let me go all the way back around to money on this thing, okay? When we talk about money, and the ability for Colorado to lure a guy like Deion, one of the best and brightest. Okay, keep that in mind. Deion is one of the best and brightest, and we see this happen in all industries, right? The best and brightest African Americans are pulled out and separated, paid handsomely, taken care of, and the best and brightest are rewarded. And I put quotes around the word rewarded with money. And so I always say on this channel, we have to be careful. And I know this is a large increase, right? Hard for any of us to have turned that down, right? But we have to be careful, you know, doing things for money. Now, we see a lot of folks do it. And it's almost to the point where it's normal, where people say, oh, this is no brainer. Of course, they're going to give you that much money. But there's other things involved when you make these type of decisions than just money. Can't be all about the money. We know money, and I said it before, we know money played a large role in this right here. We know that for a fact, right? How could it not, right? But we also got to remember that there's a lot of things, the atmosphere at Colorado is different. The boosters, the president, the fan base, the city itself, how welcoming they'll be towards Deion. All these things. Listen, Deion. First of all, Deion can only go up at Colorado, right? They can only get better. When you talk about a 1-11 season, they can only get better. But are they going to win immediately? Or are they not going to win immediately? Is Deion going to be able to do what Deion did there? We got to be careful because there's other things to consider than just money. Oftentimes, the raise is not this significant, right? But Deion and Jackson State fit like a glove. Are they going to fit like a glove here? Is he going to fit like a glove here? So those are things to think about. Those are things. I don't want to make this very long, guys, but I wanted to say, hey, listen, this is a good move for Deion in some ways. It's a bad move for HBCUs in some ways because of what I said before in terms of looking back and saying, well, anybody that's got to elevate has to leave an HBCU. The culture, the black culture, it could be seen as a thumb to the nose or a slap in the face of African Americans, but we can't, we got to understand what we're looking at here and not be too emotional and understand that this happens at all levels of collegiate sports, in all sports. Coaches get opportunities and they take those opportunities. Could we be happy for Deion? Yes. We should be happy for Deion making a decision and a move that he feels is best for his family and himself and his assistants. So I'm happy for Deion. I do wish in the back of my mind that we could have saw Deion be there for 10 to 15 years, start attracting some other big time college coaches or big time African American head coaches and big time recruits coming to HBCUs. And then, 5 years from now, we could have had the SWAC conference and it could have been a championship and it could have been almost like the Pac-12, right? Or, we know the Power Five could have been inviting them in and saying, we got the power, a Power Six, because Jackson State is one of the top in the nation. And so who knows what could have been. And I'm saying that this is also an opportunity, let's remember, for another coach to come into Jackson State and make their legacy at Jackson State and keep it rolling and continue. Just because Deion leaves, the HBCUs and the SWAC conference is bigger than Deion Sanders, okay? Deion is one person, right? He brings a lot of notoriety, it brings a lot of attention, but there's other great coaches. Let's keep the ball rolling. Let's keep supporting HBCUs and not just give up because one man left, right? It's bigger than one man in Deion. So listen, guys, The real reason Deion Sanders left Jackson State is because it probably was what he believed to be the best decision for him and for his family and for his assistant coaches. I think that's the real reason Deion left Jackson State. No other reason besides he wanted an opportunity to help get other folks paid, get himself paid, and also give more opportunities to the people around him that he's loyal to. That's what I believe the real reason Deion Sanders left Jackson State for the University of Colorado at Boulder. Hey, you got any questions, guys? Please drop your comments or questions or comments. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this issue. How do you feel? What do you think is the real reason that Deion left and went to Colorado? All right. Hey, the best person to take care of the old you is the young you. Take care of yourself, guys, and take care of other people. Until the next video, peace.